Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Indie Alaska is a groundbreaking series that dives into the lives of people living in the last frontier. Each episode introduces you to colorful characters from around the state. Funding for Indie Alaska is provided in part by Alyeska Pipeline Service Company. Catch the latest episodes at alaskapublic.org.
The National Weather Service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Kimberley Hoeppner, and today is November 17th, 2015. On this Tuesday, we have a very active weather pattern in store for you through the upcoming weekend. So for the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about your aviation, marine, and public forecast. So when we're not here, you can always get our data from www.arh.noaa.gov. Just navigate the menus in front of you and you can find the local weather and our forecasts. You can also dial into our weather information line at 1-800-472-0391. And as always, if you're on our webpage, please find us on Facebook, Twitter, and you can also search us up on YouTube. Now over to the special topics of the day. We do have some watches, warnings, and advisories out there. I will go ahead and start out across the western areas. First with the winter storm warning, and this is for snow and blowing snow, reducing visibilities down to near zero at times with gusty winds between 20 and 35 miles per hour. And this is going to be out through Thursday at 9 p.m. So be on the lookout for snow in these areas between 4 to 8 inches. And also we have a winter storm watch, and this is going to be for blowing snow starting Wednesday morning around 9 a.m. running through Thursday at 9 p.m. Across the west coastal areas, be on the lookout for a high surf advisory, and this is going to be running from Thursday early morning through the overnight hours on Thursday. Across the Matanuska Valley here in south central, we have a winter storm warning, and this is for heavier snow between 9 and 15 inches accumulation, and that's to be watched for Thursday into Thursday night. Across the Alaska Range here, we're going to be seeing some very gusty winds with the system upcoming, with gusts possible between 70 and 80 miles per hour through the passes and also west of the Tok cutoff there. Across the southeast, we also have an advisory and a winter storm warning, both for snow. We're expecting in the Juneau area to see snow between 12 and 18 inches, and this is already starting the snow this afternoon. That's going to be continuing through 4 p.m. for both locations, with Sitka's area seeing around 4 to 6 inches. Now, looking at the storm systems that are out to our west that we're going to be watching very closely the next several days. Here, just off of the Kamchatka Peninsula, you'll see a low spinning very quickly, and this is a system that's going to be very impactful across the entire area as we head into the end of the week. Taking a look at the system one more time, looking at the spin, a good swath of moisture out ahead of this system running into the Bering and across the southwest coast. Now taking a look across the mainland areas, we do have a low pressure system out here in the Bering, and this is pushed to front all the way up to the west coast. Mainly offshore flow and a little bit clearer skies across the northern areas of the Gulf. You can see the clouds just moving off, clear areas along the Kenai there. Across the northern areas of the state, just quieter conditions with some cloud cover and snow occurring this afternoon across the state. But really, we're going to be watching out west the systems that are quickly developing and moving towards the mainland. Across the southeastern areas, just a very weak low pressure system, enough to generate some lift as it moves in onshore. through the day tomorrow. Let's take a look at the maps. Here's that low pressure system across the southeast, only a 993 millibar low, but it doesn't take much to accumulate a bit of snow here in Alaska. Everyone knows that. So snow showers just behind this. It's going to be ending across the Yakutat area here this evening. Across the interior area, some snow showers along the coast to the north and west, just some light snow shower activity there. Offshore winds have been blowing fairly strong across the Thompson Pass area and typical channel terrain along the Gulf. Now across the southwestern areas, we have snow developing this afternoon just across the Bristol Bay area and off the southwest coast, with some light rain occurring along this occluded system that's sitting across the northern areas of the Bering. Some gusty winds out of the east just along the north side of that, and here's this next low pressure system out towards the west. Now as we head into tonight, this low pressure system is going to shove this low pressure system across the northern Bering a little bit closer to the coast, pushing this rain and snow mix closer to the coast, mainly snow across the Bristol Bay area tonight up through the Kuskokwim. And here's this area of snow just moving into the western coast, so we'll be keeping an eye on this forecast there for the west coast, as they're going to be seeing some snow accumulations between the 4 to 6 inches during the overnight hours into Wednesday. Now across the Gulf, we have a slightly warmer air mass just south of Kodiak Island. If they see any precipitation tonight, it would be in the form of rain, but they're going to stay dry primarily until this next system moves across on Wednesday. So Wednesday, Kodiak will be into the rain area, and then all of the southwestern areas should see snow as this weak front just kind of stalls and weakens and falls apart. So continuous moisture will advect across this weak trough at the surface. We'll see some strong winds across the southwestern areas and all of the Bering out of the east direction, becoming more southwesterly behind the frontal area of the system. Kodiak Island will also be in those strong westerly winds as this trough axis pushes through. This low pressure system will be weak across the southeast, so winds will start tapering off on Wednesday, primarily across the interior. It's just a very cold air mass. Some light snow showers will occur across the northeastern coast and the northwest coast, but here's this large low pressure system that quickly organizes across the area with a mix of rain and snow, becoming more rain on the backside of the system. As we head into your Thursday, the system will make it to the southwest, pushing snow all across the south central areas with some gusty winds as the front pushes inland. Looking for snow across much of the western areas of the state and all the way up through the Gulf coastal locations, and another surge of lighter snow across the southeast again. Across the north coast, a little bit drier there, but the gustier winds are going to be picking up out of the east direction. And behind the system, you can see this tight pressure gradient all around. So very, very strong system in a sense that the upper level system is organized with the surface low. And then this will be the next system to watch, moving very quickly up to the central Aleutians, a warm front that could bring warmer conditions across the Aleutians, and the track of the system will be quite impactful, especially if it tracks further north than its current projection. Now, temperatures across the day today were mainly along the coastal locations near 20, with Kodiak, the western Gulf locations, seeing in the lower 30s. All across the southeast, they saw mainly temperatures in the mid-30s, dropping through the day with a colder air mass settling in. Across the interior areas of the state, well below zero, minus 20 to minus 27, located in the lower and upper Kuskokwim valleys were the coldest locations today. Across the north slope and back towards the northwest, we saw temperatures near 0 to 10 below, and across the southwest, slightly warmer trend, 10 above, and then across the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Bering, all saw in the mid to upper 30s, with the warmest out at Adak today. We saw temperatures out there at 45 degrees. Now for temperatures overnight, look for a very similar pattern across the Bering and the Aleutians in the upper 30s to near 40 degrees across the mainland, warmest across the southwest in the teens, and then across the interior areas of the state, a very cold night again, between 5 below to 15 below across the southern areas of the state, minus 20 to minus 30 below across the interior, and around -15 as you head towards the north, and the southeast will see mainly temperatures just below 30 degrees. And now for your high temperatures tomorrow, starting a slow warming trend, temperatures across the north in the -5 degree range, slowly climbing into the upper teens across the southwest and even mid-teens across much of the Gulf coastal locations, high near 40 near Kodiak and the Alaska Peninsula, in the mid to upper 30s for the southeast, and across the Bering once again in Aleutians in the mid-40s, slightly warmer. Okay, and now looking at your flying weather for tomorrow, mainly MVFR conditions with the low pressure system out in the Bering. Watch IFR for the southwest coast and across the western Aleutians. Also, we'll see some MVFR conditions with the snow showers across the southeast and across the northern tier of the state. Looking at your passes in more depth now, we have MVFR conditions at Anatuvik Pass improving to VFR later in the day, and same for Adigan, MVFR to VFR. And we'll see Lake Clark and Merrill Pass go from VFR to MVFR later in the day, and rainy as well, VFR to MVFR. Looking at Windy, we'll see VFR, and Isabel will be VFR as well. And Mentasta will probably go MVFR in the morning to VFR in the afternoon. Tanita should stay VFR all day, and Portage as well, VFR. And then Chilkoot and White Pass will go from MVFR, improving to MVFR late day. And then your freezing levels tomorrow, your surface is right there across the southeast, and then back towards the western areas of the Gulf, and then just kind of skirts along the northern areas of the Bering, and then we have the 2,000-foot level across the southern areas of the Gulf and across the Aleutians, quickly rising to warmer temperatures to 6,000 feet just south of the Aleutian chain. Looking at your icing tomorrow, below 12,000 feet, mainly with the system out towards the west, with isolated to moderate conditions there. Widespread conditions will be possible just around the core of this system. And then we'll also see below 8,000 to 9,000 feet for this system that's moving across the southeast for tomorrow. So your jet stream, we'll see a strong westerly flow, 90 knots across the Bering, just pushing the systems right across the central mainland there. So here's the low pressure system. Let's address the southwest to westerly flow, kind of light across the inland areas, stronger flow across the Gulf between 25 to 45 knots, stronger there from Kodiak Island on over to the southeast. And here's the system that's going to be the one to watch. We have a change of direction with the winds between 40 and 50 knots at 9,000 feet, with the center of the low pressure system right out there north of Shimia. Same thing at the surface, change of wind direction across the Bering, with the strongest winds on the eastern side of the core of the low pressure system between 50 and 60 knots. Across the Gulf, strong winds between 25 to 35 knots. And then across the southeast, still a westerly flow at the 3,000-foot level. South to westerly flow across the northern areas of the state between 10 and 20 knots. So summing it all up, the turbulence are mainly going to be focused, possibly some speed and directional shear along the frontal areas, and then just mainly speed shear out across the southeast and across the western areas of the Aleutians. So looking at the turbulence, will be below 6,000 to 8,000 feet across the Bering and the Aleutians, and even towards Kodiak Island, and below 4,000 to 6,000 across the southeast. Now in just a moment, we'll be back to summarize your weather and touch on your marine forecast.
Okay, go ahead. I'll get my
Man overboard on the starboard! Don't take your eye off of him! I'll get the signal fall! Still got him in sight? Okay.
Where'd he go?
Still got him! Okay.
Hold on. Okay.
Get the line on as soon as you can. He's got something to hold on to.
Okay, a little more to starboard.
Okay. Hard starboard.
How you doing, Hank? Okay? Good, good.
Okay, give him a hand there.
Come in line.
Put the line again.
Line out there.
Okay, throw. Let me know when you got the line up. Hydraulics going on.
Okay, up. Okay.
Good. All right.
Yeah, we got it.
Coming up.
Got it.
People who live in the north, who live, work, and play on or near cold water or in cold weather, should be ready to deal with hypothermia. To know what it is, know how to prevent it, how to recognize it, and how to treat it. Whether you realize it or not, most of us have been hypothermic at one time or another. When was the last time you shivered from the cold? Did it take hours or just a few minutes? Hypothermia can develop slowly or very quickly. Hypothermia is an injury that is just beginning to be understood by modern scientists. Hypothermia is the lowering of the body core temperature. The core is the critical inner portion of the body, including the heart, brain, and lungs. The core is where life remains if there is any chance for survival. Before you can understand hypothermia, you need to know that the circulatory system controls the body temperature much like a hot water heating system does in a home. When the arms or legs get cold, the core sends warm blood out to rewarm them. The core can't afford to send out more warm blood without cooling itself. It then reduces blood flow to these areas in order to minimize its own heat loss. However, if too much heat is lost from the body, it will die. We can prevent hypothermia in two ways: by adding heat or by making our shelter more efficient to prevent the loss of body heat. Clothes are our most efficient shelter to protect our body from the environment. If our clothing is adequate, our body core temperature can be maintained by body heat alone and not require another heat source. If our clothing is inadequate, we add a little water, a little wind. You can see how dangerously cold people can get. The main areas of the body to protect from heat loss are the head, neck, armpits, sides, and groin, because they are the areas of greatest heat loss. The old saying, to cover your head when your feet get cold, makes a lot of sense if you know that over half of the body heat loss is through the head. You know, it's really sad that people spend hundreds of dollars on recreational gear, but only a fraction of that on adequate clothing. Clothing that could protect them from a dangerous and common killer, cold. The best prevention for hypothermia is to stay dry. If you're wet, get dry. If you're in the water, get out, or at least get as much of your body out as possible. Water will rob the body's heat 25 times faster than air at the same temperature. If you're in the water without a survival suit, to slow heat loss, keep the head and neck out of the water. The best way to do that is to wear some type of protective flotation device or lifesaver that keeps the head and neck up. Another important posture protects the groin and armpits from cold water circulation. This is the heat escape lessening posture called the help position. For a group, a good posture is to huddle. It protects the armpits and groin and keeps non-flowing water in the center, which increases survival time. A posture to avoid is one called drown-proofing. This is where you put your hands behind your back, you deep breathe, and you bob underwater. This will work in warm water. In these cold Alaska waters, it won't work any time of the year. You actually lose body heat faster because your neck and your head is underwater. You can also keep more of your body out of the water by clinging to something. another person, a part of the boat, a log, even a floating dead friend. He can save your life. If help is close by, don't swim. It will reduce your survival time in cold water. Each stroke you swim circulates cold water around your body. Your ability to swim becomes less each time you stroke. In midwinter 30 to 33 degree water, it's doubtful that a person could swim more than 50 feet.
Okay, take him in. Get those clothes off him.
How do you recognize that someone is hypothermic? The symptoms of hypothermia include feeling cold, shivering, the loss of coordination, slurred or unusual speech, confusion, impaired judgment, and near the end, feelings of warmth and euphoria, sort of a natural high. In time, the person becomes unconscious. The heart beats erratically, resulting in death by what appears to be a heart attack. In the field, you don't have a means of measuring body core temperature and other vital signs. You cannot rely on symptoms alone to decide how severe the case of hypothermia is. For example, some people don't shiver, and also the victim may not believe he has hypothermia. If a person is improperly sheltered from cold or wet conditions, and he might be hypothermic, it makes good sense to treat him for hypothermia.
Hey, Red, give me a hand.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. We're going to move on to your ice forecast here. Looking at the northern Cook Inlet and the arms, we do have ice that's moving through the Turnagain Arm and the Knik Arm there. So be on the lookout for ice conditions if you're there along the inlet. Also, an updated view of the ice along the southwest. You can see from Kotzebue Sound, we have the ice edge that's starting to grow all the way down through the Bristol Bay area. So be aware that, you know, we do have some ice growth here. There is westerly and warmer flow, so that might kind of fight the ice edge back in the next day or two. However, the colder temperatures are going to prevail since we're winter, so expect that growth to continue. Looking at your marine forecast across the southeast for Wednesday, looking at the strongest winds across the outer waters out of the west and northwest direction between 20 and 25 knots. Small craft advisory criteria there. Across the inner channels, a change of direction from north to the southeast between 15 and 20 knots. And the seas between 3 and 4 feet across the inner channels and between 11 to 16 feet across the outer waters. Looking at your Thursday forecast, stronger winds here between 20 to 35 knots, strongest winds there across the outer waters once again. Change of direction from north to southeast across the inner channels between 20 and 25 knots. Small craft advisory near Petersburg. And then seas will be between 4 and 5 feet. Looking at the western Gulf locations, we'll see winds between 10 to 30 knots, strongest winds across the western Gulf there out of the southeast direction, more northerly across the Prince William Sound and the Cook Inlet. We'll see northeast flow around 20 knots, changing to the south for the Shelikof Strait, small craft advisory here, and then we will have 2 to 3 foot seas across the Prince William Sound northern inlet. Across the southern inlet towards the Barren Islands, we'll see 5 foot seas, 9 to 10 feet across the western areas of the Gulf and 7 feet across Shelikof Strait. Looking at your Thursday forecast, change of wind direction, strong winds, gales across much of the western Gulf there, Shelikof Strait, Barren Islands, all out of the south. And then we'll see change of directions here across the Cook Inlet, and then a northerly flow along the northern areas of the Gulf, small craft criteria up there in the northeast. And then we'll see 3 foot seas to 9 foot seas across the Cook Inlet on your Thursday, 12 feet around the Shelikof Strait, Barren Islands, and then highest between 10 and 17 feet across the western areas of the Gulf. Now looking at your Wednesday forecast, Bristol Bay will see a southwesterly flow direction, all small craft, 9 to 10 foot seas on the Bering side, 9 to 10 on the Pacific side. Looking at your Thursday forecast, much stronger winds, storm force just to the south areas of the Alaska Peninsula, all out of the south and westerly direction, 14 foot seas across the Bering side and 21 feet across the Pacific expected that day. Now your Wednesday across the Aleutians will be the most active day, strongest winds, storm force out towards Shimia, looking at 55 knots there, and then between 30 to 45 knots across the rest of the Aleutians, gales and small craft covering the area. 13-foot seas across the Bering side towards the east, and then all the way up to 34 feet across the western areas of the Aleutians. On the Pacific side, mainly 11 to 15 feet until you get out towards the central Aleutians, where it's going to be around 25 foot in height. On your Thursday, change wind direction out of the westerly direction, becoming north towards the western Aleutians. All gales except towards the western Aleutians, and seas on this day will be quite high across the Bering side between 27 to 29 feet, and then across the south side still 24 to 27 feet, and then 23-foot seas out towards Shimea. The west coast will see a change of wind direction from the west coast seeing southeast towards the southwest as you head towards the west. The strongest winds will be between 35 and 40 knots north, 30 to the south, 13 to 17-foot seas, and then we'll see across the central Bering between 10 and 12 feet. On your Thursday, expect stronger winds becoming more northerly in direction across the northern areas and south to southwesterly across the south. And then we'll also see gales for this day with seas between 10 to 15 feet across the western coastal areas, 22 to 23 feet out towards the central and northern areas. Now across the Kotzebue Sound and north, we'll see winds primarily go from the east to south to west direction all around the coast, and we'll see winds that day between 15 to 25 knots, strongest along the northwest, and seas between 3 to 4 feet. Looking at your Thursday forecast, easterly direction primarily across the area with a little bit of a south direction along the northwest coast there towards Barrow, and then we'll see seas between 3 and 4 feet. Now remember, be on the lookout for this storm system that's moving in and bringing snow towards the south central areas as we head into your Wednesday. So an increase of snow, snow watches, warnings, and advisories. You want to be on the lookout for the west coast, across the southeast through tomorrow, and across the south central areas. Be on the lookout as snow is on its way with rain possibly mixing across the Alaska Peninsula. Thanks for spending your night with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.